Hey everyone, this is Gaurav and welcome to my learning channel. So in today's video, we'll learn about variance and standard deviation. And towards the end of the video, we will also look at a sample example and we'll try to calculate the variance and standard deviation for a given data sample. So without any further delay, let's get started. All right, let's look at the dictionary definition of variance. So variance is a measure of how data points differ from their mean. So let's try to understand this from an example. So in this population distribution, variance would be the measure of how much each data point is away from its mean, which is at the center. Now let's not worry about the quantification or the formula at this point in time, but first of all, let's try to understand the concept. So in this example, on the right-hand side, we have three different distributions. So you have red one, you have green one, and you have blue one. As you can see for the red one, most of the data points, which is on the this curve, is fairly close to their mean. And that's why their variance or variability is lowest. On the other extreme, you have a green one, where most of the data points are fairly away from its center or its mean. And that's why their variability or variance is highest. So in a way, you can say that if each of the individual data points are close to the center or the mean, then the variance is going to be lowest. And on the other extreme, if it is far away from the mean, then your variance is going to be highest. Now let's try to understand this from a formula. So in this formula, S square is your variance, N is the number of data point you have in the population, Xi is the value of individual data points, and X bar is your mean. So as you can see that variance is nothing but a summation of how much each of the data point differs from its mean and just taking a simple average of that. So average minus one, N minus one, sorry. So hopefully this gives you a good idea about what is a variance. With that, let's take a look at the formula and the meaning for standard deviation. So standard deviation is nothing but a measure of amount of variation of a set of values. So rather than going into the too much of a detail of what does this mean, let's take a look at the formula. So the formula looks fairly similar to what we have just seen for variance. Now, actually, as a matter of fact, so standard deviation is nothing but a square root of what a variance is. So both standard deviation and variance basically points towards the same thing, which is how much each of the individual data point in your distribution is separated away from its mean or its center point. So let's try to understand this with a simple example. Let's say your data set has three values, x1 equals to 10, x2 equals to 20, and x3 equals to 30. So their mean is going to be 20, which is nothing but 10 plus 20 plus 30 divided by 3, and n is 3 because you have three different data points. So there, if you plug in the formula that we have just seen in the previous slide, then you realize that variance is 66.6 and the standard deviation is 8.16. Now, it is important to remember this formula, especially if you are applying for an entry-level data science job, because typically I have seen that some of these questions do come up where they will give you like 5 or 6 different data points and they will ask you to calculate the standard deviation and variance right on the spot. So if you have done a little bit of a exercise, then it will be helpful for you to sort of calculate the values in time. So that's pretty much it for standard deviation and variance. Hopefully this gives you a good idea. Wish you a happy learning and thank you so much.